Hi everyone. Today we are going to talk about one of the greatest poets of the Elizabethan age, Edmund Spenser. By the end of this session, I hope you will understand not just what he wrote, but also why he is remembered as the poet's poet. So let's get started. Edmund Spenser was born in 1552 in London, England, and he later married Elizabeth Boyle, whom he loved deeply. He is most famous for inventing a unique poetic stanza known as the Spenserian stanza. Now, what is Spenserian stanza? A Spenserian stanza has 9 lines, right? The first 8 lines are written in iambic pentameter, and the last line is written in iambic hexameter, which is also called an alexandrine. The rhyme scheme is A B A double B C D double C. We'll see later how he used this in his most famous work, The Fairy Queen, which is also an epic poem. So let's move forward. Spenser completed his studies at the University of Cambridge, and later he worked as a government official in Ireland. That is why most of his works have Ireland as a setting. The famous essayist Charles Lamb gave him the title of poet's poet. That's a big compliment from one great writer to another, isn't it? He also had strong literary friendships with well known figures like Sir Philip Sidney and Sir Walter Raleigh. Universities in Cambridge, London, and Ireland played a huge role in shaping his intellectual life. Sadly, Spenser died in 1599 in London and was buried in the Poets' Corner, also known as the Westminster Abbey. Now, here's a little fun and inspiring story about Spenser. First, I want you to listen to it, and then we will read about what's written on the screen in front of you. So, Queen Elizabeth had asked her treasurer, William Cecil, to pay Spenser £100 as a reward for his poetry. But the treasurer thought that it was too much of money and delayed the payment. So, Spenser cleverly wrote a short 4 line poem called A Quatrain as a gentle reminder to the Queen. I was promised on a time to have a reason for my rhyme. From that time until this season, I received nor rhyme nor reason. So when the queen read this witty reply, she immediately ordered the treasurer to pay him the full amount. Now here goes the story. Edmund in the story is recorded in the Worthies of England by Thomas Fuller, and this says that Queen Elizabeth had a treasurer by the name of William Cecil, who was told to pay Spenser £100 for his poetry. The treasurer at once hesitated, and she said, "Then give him whatever is reason." So long time went by, but Spenser did not receive his payment, so he gave the queen a reply in the form of a quatrain. I was promised on a time to have a reason for my rhyme. From that time until the season, I received nor rhyme nor reason. After hearing this, the queen immediately commanded her treasurer to pay Edmund Spenser the original amount of £100. So this shows Spenser's smartness and poetic charm. Now let's look at the most important works of Spenser, starting with the Shepherd's Calendar. This was his first major work written in 1579, and it is a collection of 12 pastoral poems, each representing 1 month of the year. Each poem is sung by a different shepherd, and they talk about rural life, nature, and love. Right? The main character is Cullen Cloud, who represents Spenser himself. He also expresses his sadness about a girl named Rosalind, whom he loved but could not win. So let's read it from your screen. It is Spenser's collection of pastoral poems that marks 12 months of the year, in which 12 different shepherds sing 12 different songs. The poem is dedicated to Philip Sidney, and it also introduces a character of John Skelton by the name of Cullen Cloud. Cullen Cloud was the character of John Skelton, and he is a shepherd. Spenser once loved a girl named Rosalind, and the melancholy of which is recorded in this work, Shepherd's Calendar. The theme of the work is rural life, nature, right, and love. The work was published in 1579. The next work we have is Iambium Trimetrium, and the another one we have is Amority. So, Amorati is a collection or a sequence of 89 sonnets dedicated to his wife Elizabeth Boyle. It captures their courtship, love and emotional journey, right? The next work we have is Epithalamion. It's a beautiful wedding hymn that celebrates his marriage. It has 24 stanzas and 364 lines that symbolizes a full year and the hours of the day. Another one we have Prothalamion, which is another nuptial song, this time written to celebrate the marriage of two noble sisters, and it is known for its flowering imagery and peaceful tone. Then comes Cullen Cloud Comes Home Again, published in 1595. It is another pastoral allegory where Spencer criticizes the corruption at the royal court, corruption of court life, right? So here, home refers to Ireland. Okay, so he also wrote. First, read it. First, let's read it from here. Culling Cloud Comes Home Again. Home here refers to Ireland, and it is a past allegory written in the tradition of Virgil and Theocritus, the way they used to write allegories. So it focuses on the corruption of the court life along with the materialism associated with it, and the work is dedicated to Sir Walter Raleigh. He also wrote Astrophel, which is another pastoral elegy dedicated to his close friend Sir Philip Sidney, who died in a battle, and it is full of sadness and admiration. Now comes a very, very important work of Edmund Spenser, that is The Fairy Queen. Now, this work is very, very important. You need to go through the summary of this work, get it online, get it from any source that you can. But just you need to read it for your exam because it is very, very important. This is going to fetch you a couple of questions. So, now let's read it. So, Fairy Queen. It is his most famous and most important work. Written in Spenserian stanzas, published in three parts in 1590, 96, and 1601. It is an epic poem that is full of knights, quests, dragons, virtues, and moral lessons. The first three books came out in 1590, the next three came out in 1596, and the whole collection was published in 1601. He actually planned to write 24 books, but only six complete ones survive, and others were either not written or possibly lost in the fire at the Kilcolman Castle in Ireland. Right? So, this poem was basically meant to shape noble minds and encourage values like holiness, justice, and truth. And in return for this masterpiece, Spencer was awarded £50 per year by the Queen. So, let's read it from your screen. The work was written in Spenserian stanzas, and it is the greatest work that made Edmund Spenser famous. He was awarded £50 a year for his work, and the first three parts of the book, as I said, was 1519, next six published in 1596, and the whole book was published in 1601. He discussed this work with his patron, Sir Walter Raleigh, before actually publishing it, and it was originally decided to include 24 books that would discuss an adventure and triumph of a knight. Now, there is no record of the other chapters of the book, and they were either not written or perhaps lost in the fire of Kilcolman Castle. And the work was published chiefly with the aim to fashion gentleman or noble person in virtuous and general discipline. Very important, it's a previous year question. This statement was asked in the exam. All right. So, another work that he wrote was A View of the Present State of Ireland in 1596. It was a piece of prose work called A View of the Present State of Ireland. And this work is controversial as well because he suggested extreme measures to control Irish uprisings. And he also wrote Mother Hubbard's Tale. It's a satirical work on society that criticizes the greed and dishonesty in society. So students, that brings us to the end of our presentation. To sum up, Edmund Spenser was not just a great poet, but also a reformer, a moral thinker, and a master of language. His poems are full of beauty, wisdom, and deep symbolism. From the elegant Spenserian stanzas to the grand world of the fairy queen, he has influenced generations of poets and writers. And even today, his works remind us of the power of poetry to inspire, educate, and transform. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.